It is my privilege to finish up our Equity Deep Dive series this year by introducing Dr. Didi Watts. Dr. Watts is a leader in education and advocacy who has spent nearly 3 decades reshaping opportunities for historically underserved students. As co-founder of the Watts of Power Foundation and creator of the Components of Care framework, Dr. Watts is transforming education by recruiting and supporting Black educators and equipping teachers to build strong, sustainable relationships with students. A former teacher, school psychologist, principal, and now chief of staff for an LAUSD board member, Dr. Watts continues to be a powerful advocate for students and equitable education policies. Please join me in welcoming her to bring us home for the series.
Well, thank you, Kate. It is morning still. Good morning, everyone. Um, I am excited to be with you this morning so that we can dig a little bit deeper into mentor teacher selection. So, we're going to talk a little bit about, again, mentor teacher selection and then effective residencies, reflecting on your own residency programs, and then coming out with really actionable next steps. What can you do now to change um, your residency programs if they don't fit what you would like them to be doing right now? Um, and so for us, I'll start with I shared a little bit about our foundation, our residency program in our last session, the Village Initiative, where we focus on recruiting Black men who are interested in becoming teachers. And our residency is a 2-year program, one for the purpose of giving the young men an opportunity to go through our training, which we call our secret sauce and the components of care, but also giving them the opportunity to take some of the tests and get their paperwork and things in place for their residency with Cal State Dominguez. We do partner with the district, but our program is unique in that as a community-based partner, we aren't focused as much on the content component. We do supplement that, but it's really, our program is really focusing on those soft skills that are necessary for teachers and for them to be um, able to sustain themselves in the field of education. So when we were creating our rubric for mentor selection, we were very intentional about looking at the themes of care and what teachers need to do in order to show care for students. So we looked at the importance of encouragement and redirection by the teacher toward students. We looked at how teachers are able to support students in the classroom and outside of the classroom, looking at the teacher's disposition and their willingness to provide help to students. The teachers and the expectations that they hold for students, building relationships, and then their ability to relate content to life. So with our mentor teachers, they go through a process. The first process is them, of course, expressing their interest. They do have to have at least 3 years of teaching experience, but beyond that, they have to have a recommendation from their principal on site. And then from there, we go in and conduct an observation in their classroom, looking specifically for those components of care. We're looking at their content instruction as well, but how are they doing that through a caring framework? And our selection tool, we then aligned our themes with the California standards for the teaching profession and the teaching performance expectations, so that we were really looking at where do we see those, where do we see that alignment, and because care should be part of our process when we are credentialing teachers, but sometimes that is an afterthought. So we wanted to bring it to the forefront, particularly when we were selecting mentor teachers. And so this is just a snapshot of our rubric. So we're looking at building relationships, and we're probing and looking at their the CSTP and TPE, so whatever area that aligns with. There are 4 different areas: needs improvement, developing, proficient, or exemplary, like you would see in basic rubrics. But when we're looking at that, we're looking at, so for a teacher who, and this may be where we just pack up and say, okay, well, thank you very much, but this isn't necessarily the experience we're looking for the residents. This teacher rarely demonstrates a positive attitude or care towards the students. They don't maintain a professional demeanor, and they lack the understanding and commitment to student well-being. So certain things that may occur in the classroom, the teacher may be dismissive. Now, having been a teacher, we recognize that there are multiple students in the classroom, and everyone can't receive that attention all at the same time. But what teacher moves does that potential mentor teacher make to ensure that they're going to be able to address the needs of the student? Is it something where they say, where they recognize that the student may be dysregulated, and they say to the student, okay, we're going to find some time to get together. Maybe I put a card on the student's desk, and that student recognizes that this card means that we need to see one another when we have a break, maybe before recess or lunch. What are they doing to ensure that they're recognizing the well-being of the student? So a needs improvement, again, means that we may say, okay, thank you, but no thank you, right? But then let's move to someone who is proficient or exemplary, that they're constantly or consistently demonstrating that positive attitude, the empathy, and the care towards all of the students in their classroom. And it comes across. You can see that in their instruction, the way in which they engage students in the learning process when they are moving. And I think Eddie talked about this in terms of how are we beginning our day, their classroom management strategies. Are they consistent? Do we notice that they are constantly checking on one student, but not in a positive manner? What are they doing that alerts us to the fact that they are showing care, and they're showing this deep understanding for a student's well-being? So we use this rubric when we're in a potential mentor teacher's classroom as part of that observation, because again, we're looking to see, is the mentor teacher able to show that care? And if we are on the fence, then we will go back and do another observation. But again, we have the flexibility of doing this because we're working with a larger pool of people who have expressed interest within the school district setting. And so I wanted us to think about the characteristics of effective teacher residency programs, and thinking about your program as we think about equity and justice for students. What is the mission of your teacher residency program? Are you explicit about your commitment to equity and justice? Do your goals include evidence of equity and justice? What do your recruitment strategies look like? Are you trying to recruit a certain number of mentors that reflect the LEA's diversity? Are you creating those affinity spaces for the mentors and the students in the residency program? It is your action research centered on addressing an equity focused opportunities of practice. So I want you to think about those indicators, um, and this is an opportunity for you to reflect. So we are going to go into breakout rooms so that you can share from those indicators that were listed under characteristic one. What indicator resonates with you? I want you to share that with the group, but then I want you to take the time to reflect and think, what, if anything, does our residency program need to change in the name of equity and justice? And feel free to, write those things down. You don't have to share extensively. We'll only be in breakout rooms for a short period of time. We are going to do this a couple of times, though. The intention is that you will be with the same people in each breakout room. So when you go into your breakout room, quick introduction, but then go right into those indicators. What indicator resonates with you, and what do you need to change within your program? If anything, you may say, we are, and Eddie is gone already. I was going to say the bomb.com. As he said, you already have it all together. Your residency program is aligned strongly with equity and justice already. And so maybe there's nothing you need to change, but maybe there's something that you share with someone else who is in your breakout group. So just to be clear, looking at these indicators, what resonates with you, and then what do you need to change, if anything at all? Well, I hope that your conversation helped you to think about some things in your residency program, particularly around mentor selection and then mission. And we're going to share back out at the end so that we can go through and then come back in. The next characteristic that we want to talk about is authentic partnership. So when we think about the partnerships in creating our residency programs, I want us to think that we can't do this alone. When we're thinking about developing mentors, when we're thinking about our residency programs in general, it is not something that we can do alone. We want to make sure that we're working with partners. And I say that from the partner space, right? So our residency works with both the school district and the university partner. But the way in which our grants were written, it was for us to be able to bring something to the table. And I want you to think about that in your in the creation, because sometimes community-based partners are brought in as an, oh, by the way. Oh yeah, oh, by the way, we're going to work with this person. It has to be more of a true partnership where everyone is writing the grant together. Everyone has a stake in this, and everyone is committed to the successful completion of our candidates and mentors, right? So your IHEs, the LEAs, the school sites that are participating, collective bargaining entities, local communities, everyone has to be able to come together. And being in the second largest school district in the nation, I know the challenge of that, of trying to make sure that you're connecting with the right people. When I think about particularly our mentor teacher selection, it was extremely important for us, again, to be able to use the framework of CARE in selecting mentor teachers. And they have to have completed 3 years of successful teaching as a credentialed teacher. But these are also teachers who belong to UTLA that are being selected. Our mentor teachers are required to participate in trainings beyond the school day because they are working with us as a community-based partner, and there is a requirement that we have for training mentor teachers. So our mentor teachers participate in our Components of Care course, which is offered through Cal State Dominguez. It's at no charge to them. There's a grant that covers their course attendance, but that is a requirement because if we're training the residents in the Components of Care, it's important for the mentor teachers to also participate in that. But that's something that is outside of their contractual time. And so having the awareness and understanding and the buy-in of all stakeholders is extremely important in this process. Something else that we require is we do a kickoff for our mentor teachers in the summer before the course, the full course begins. They can earn 1 unit from the university for participating in this abbreviated version of the course, but it's to get them acclimated to who we are and the process that we go through. It's important that we have those MOUs and agreements in place in order to make sure that our mentors are set and ready to go in August. We did have a situation where we had a mentor who we had to let go because they were not willing to fully participate. And that doesn't give the resident the same experience. The mentor doesn't have the same experience as the resident. So when we're talking about care, if the mentor hasn't participated and isn't willing to participate in those trainings, then they're not able to engage on the same level. And so for us, that's vitally important. So thinking about these authentic partnerships, what of these indicators resonates with you? Staffing roles and responsibilities that are clearly delineated across the residency program. Again, here we go again with the shared mission, vision, and theory of change for the overall residency program. But how are we thinking about this in terms of mentor selection and support? So again, when we go into our breakout rooms, you're going to think about and identify an indicator from characteristic 2 that resonates with you. And think about this question: how's your program been intentional in partnerships in seeking equity and justice? Identify an indicator that resonates and then share with the group around your program's intentionality. If your program is just now starting, what conversations have you started to have around these characteristics? So be prepared to share that in your group. Again, thinking about equitable recruiting and hiring. In our group, we were talking a little bit about the challenge of some of the districts, right? Some are in more rural areas, some are smaller districts than others. And so really thinking about what happens beyond the residency grants, whether it's an implementation or capacity grant, and thinking about, will that change how you recruit? So thinking about how you approach recruitment within your residency program. Is it already just teachers or those who are interested in becoming teachers? Or if we think about mentors, those who are interested in becoming mentors? Or is there intentionality around given the percentages of diverse populations in your LEAs, where you're trying to recruit a certain percentage of those folks. Are there specific strategies that are being used to recruit those diverse populations? One of the things that we did this year was, again, we're recruiting Black men who are interested in becoming teachers. So we had a Black church tour. Black men may attend church. So we went to those churches and talked about the importance of the community and needing teachers. And so thinking about your unique context, what are those recruitment strategies that you're using to bring folks in? Additionally, for us, we're doing some work with the National Board Certification, the Black Educator Initiative, to recruit more Black educators who are interested in becoming nationally board certified. And so for us, it's a natural progression, right? Teachers or candidates are going through a residency program, they become credentialed, they then go towards national board certification. It supports them, but it's also a place for potential mentors for us. So thinking intentionally about how we're going to recruit mentors and residents. So thinking about the equitable recruitment and hiring in your groups, you're going to identify one of those characteristics, again, that resonates with you, but how does your program work with your LEA partners to overcome barriers, right, by residents of color and or mentors of color as you're trying to recruit them? How does your program work with the LEA partners? Or if you are the LEA, how do you work with your IEG partners? Okay, so that's what we're going to tackle in breakout room. Welcome back, everyone. Sorry, Allison, for you getting cut off. We'll be able to connect, but I hear, again, some of you in the implementation phase, some of you in the capacity space. And so you're thinking through these things, which is great because it's an opportunity for you, but also thinking about your own capacity, because in many of your roles, you are the sole person, or there are two of you, and trying to figure out how do we, without being able to clone ourselves, how do we get to these different places to expand what we're able to do and how we're able to recruit. And so being very intentional and thinking about how do we do this while also being able to prioritize our mental health and well-being, because you can't run a great program if you are depleted. So just putting that out there for you. And then we come to the area that I think is, I love this piece, the culturally responsive mentorship and the recruitment of mentors. Again, minimally 3 years of teaching experience and a clear credential, but a record of successful teaching. As I shared, we use our care framework in terms of looking at their teaching and their classroom management and all the things that they do in the classroom. Growth mindset, receptiveness to feedback, willingness to disrupt problematic and racist actions. I think that is a huge one, because we are in systems, and systems have been created, and sometimes we can just continue to perpetuate the things that have been done in programs because we've always done it this way. But are the mentor teachers that we're working with willing to engage in a way that will disrupt what has been occurring? Um, so I think this piece is key. Eddie was showing videos in the last session about supporting how mentor teachers can support the residents and have videos and things to share with them. I think it's really important as we're selecting our mentors. One of the things that we do in our class, our components of care class, is the residents and mentors create toolboxes to address different areas. And it's again based on our framework, but they create these toolboxes, these toolkits that can assist them. So when we're thinking about classroom management in the first 5 minutes of class and the last 5 minutes of class, having a toolkit that has activities and things that they can use. But the mentor teacher only has it because they've participated in the course, right? To be able to build that toolkit. They may have it in their head, but have never thought about how do I have this available to support a resident. So really thinking through that piece and then how we select mentors using multiple measures to select a mentor, not just that first one that says they have 3 years of experience and a clear credential. Looking at the potential mentor awareness of the impact of identity. And again, going back to the idea of institutionalized racism, because we are all in systems and these systems were created and built on a foundation, and we have to be intentional about disrupting what it has been built on to change it to something more equitable and just for all students. Professional development capacity, and then again, mentors' use of knowledge of equity principles, culturally responsive pedagogy to support their residents, to address issues of equity in their classrooms and how they engage with curriculum. So a lot of indicators for culturally responsive mentorship, using specific mentor stances, developing residents' ability to self-assess, and then mentors support residents to ground critical analysis of teaching practice. I'm a university supervisor for Cal State Dominguez Hills, so our residents that are becoming credentialed, we work with them in our residency program. They then shift to the district to do their credentialing. And when they're in their student teaching phase, I come back and Pete comes back as their university mentors. So we get the opportunity to observe them, not their mentors or supervisors. We get the opportunity to observe them in the classroom, provide them with actionable feedback, meet with their mentor teachers alongside them, so that we can debrief lessons together, think about next steps together, so that we're all involved in that process of supporting the resident as they go along. So in your breakout, identify one of the indicators, share with the group, and think about what is your program's intentional plan around recruiting mentor teachers. For those of you who are just building your program, think about what is it that you want in your program? How do you want, what type of mentors do you want, and how do you plan to select them? Is it a certain framework that you're using? What are the multiple measures you might use to select mentor teachers? Okay, so yes, this is commitment and actionable next steps. So I want you to think about what we talked about. It can be overwhelming to look at all of the areas at one time. So choose one. Choose one policy or practice that you want to revise from the characteristics that we talked about in the mentor selection piece. Um, and with your team, reflect on that. What would you like to change to make the most impact? Um, Anticipate and name what those implementation barriers might be. It might be that you're not the holder of the mission. And so that's why it's challenging for you, right? So name those things and identify what those barriers might be so that you can have a plan to address that. And then engage your partners, your IAG partners, your LEA partners, your community partners, so that everyone's on the same page. But um, and think about how does this impact your overall program. So what's a feasible timeline for your team to have this discussion and think about it, and then think also about who will hold you accountable to make sure that you are doing that. It's very easy to say, oh, yeah, we're going to get to this. And then time gets away from you and you don't make the change. So think about who's going to hold you accountable for that. And then how will you test to make sure that it's meeting your needs? Because once you have created it, you want to be able to go back to it. It's a dynamic um, document and policy so that you can change and pivot as needed, particularly because we have all these things that are happening now with funding and things. You have to be able to be nimble in that, but it's a time for you to reflect, think about it, be intentional so that if you do have to make changes, you know what areas are like non-negotiable. We're not changing this at all, you know? So I want you to think about those things. I won't ask you to necessarily share out your commitment. I think that's something for you to do as a group, but I do want to make space in our last few minutes to hear about some of the things that resonated with you and things that your group talked about and how you're thinking about making changes. So in our last few minutes together, feel free to share. I only got to hear from one group, so it would be great to hear from those of you that were in the other group as well. And for our group, feel free to jump in as well. But in any of the areas, the characteristics you talked about, what resonated with you and what are you thinking you may need to change?
I want to just say it out loud to remind myself to follow up with what you told me about the vision for our district. You said identify who holds. Uh-oh. Hold on. Turn that off. Okay. You said identify who holds the vision and making sure that our goals are in line or aligned for sustainability. Because right now I have me and my partner, Lavis, have a certain mindset on what we're thinking residency can look like and should look like. But if it's not the same as what the people in power have, then it's gonna be hard for the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing. It is absolutely important. One, to recognize if you are not the keeper and holder of the mission, but to really try and shoot for alignment because you're constantly digging when someone else is holding all of that power and vision. I do hope that you look at the PowerPoint and really think about your commitment and actionable next steps because you're in different places with your residencies. And so really thinking about the intentionality in building out your program. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Watts. Okay, well, I'm just gonna bring us home with a couple closing thoughts. So first, this is the last of our deep dive series for this year. So we would really appreciate your feedback. Delia will put the link in the chat here, but we will also be sending like a summary email probably after the symposium that has links to all 4 of the deep dive sessions, and also ask for your feedback at that point. So we would just love to hear, what your thoughts are, what might you be implementing in your programs after you attended this series. I also just want to let you know that we have lots of resources available, ones that are presented here, but ones that are also just different resources. At our website and on our resources website. And if there's ever resources that you think your program needs, I know a couple of you said that you are starting a new program, and I know that that can be very overwhelming. So if there's, support that you need or resources that you need, feel free to reach out to us or to your SR Tech hub lead, because that's what we're here for. We're here to provide support and resources to the field. And so we don't know what you need if you don't ask. We'll do our best. We'll try to figure out, what people need. But if there's something specific, please do reach out and let us know. And then lastly, you can stay up to date on basically everything that's happening at the lab, but also with our partnership with SR Tech, by signing up for our newsletter. So if you are not yet signed up for a newsletter, you can do that here. And then also you can find all of our videos for this series, but also for previous series and all of our online events that we do record on our YouTube page. And that's all we have for today. I'm gonna just leave it open if anybody has questions, but thank you all for coming. It was good to see you, and I hope to see you all again soon.